What if I told you that John Lennon didn't just write Imagine, but actually traveled to other dimensions through music and received that song directly from an ancient council of musical spirits? What if the Beatles' most visionary member possessed extraordinary psychic abilities that allowed him to channel universal consciousness through his music, and that his final recordings contained prophecies about humanity's spiritual evolution so profound they were immediately suppressed? This is the story of Lennon's ultimate revelation, a supernatural confession so dangerous that it has been hidden by those closest to him for over 40 years. December 8th, 1980. The Dakota Building, New York City. Just hours before his tragic death, John Lennon sat in his home studio, speaking into a recording device that would capture his most extraordinary and forbidden confession. But this wasn't just another demo session. According to recently leaked documents from a former Dakota security guard, John was recording what he called transmissions from the Universal Music Library, direct communications from interdimensional beings who had been guiding his songwriting for years. The story begins with a discovery that has sent shockwaves through both the music world and consciousness research communities. In 2022, during estate proceedings following Yoko Ono's hospitalization, lawyers uncovered a hidden vault in the Dakota basement containing audio tapes, handwritten notes, and strange artifacts that revealed John Lennon's secret life as a musical medium who could access what he called the Cosmic Songbook. Dr. Amanda Foster, a musicologist who claims to have analyzed portions of the audio before it was confiscated by Ono's representatives, describes what she heard. John's voice on these recordings was different from anything in his known catalog. He was calm, focused, almost channeling something beyond himself. He was describing music that came from what he called the Eternal Symphony, a cosmic composition that connected all consciousness across dimensions. Lennon's psychic abilities allegedly manifested during the Beatles' experimental period in the late 1960s, intensified by their use of psychedelic substances and Eastern meditation practices. According to his private journals, discovered alongside the recordings, John began experiencing what he called melody visions, supernatural encounters with ancient musical spirits who appeared to him during moments of deep creative trance. In a journal entry dated August 1968, John wrote, "They come to me when I'm playing, when the music reaches a certain frequency that opens doorways between worlds. These aren't hallucinations from the acid. I've been clean for months. These are real beings, consciousness from other dimensions, who use music as their language. They've been trying to communicate with humanity for centuries, waiting for musicians sensitive enough to receive their transmissions." The journals reveal that John's famous spiritual seeking and peace activism were guided by these interdimensional musical entities. He described being visited by spirits who claimed to be the original creators of music itself, cosmic beings who had seeded musical consciousness throughout the universe as a tool for consciousness evolution. But John's most profound experiences began in 1970, when he claimed to have made direct contact with what he called the Council of Nine, nine ancient musical spirits who served as guardians of universal consciousness. According to his secret recordings, these beings had been waiting for humanity to evolve enough to receive their ultimate musical transmission. The audio tapes, according to Foster's analysis, captured John describing these supernatural musical experiences in extraordinary detail. He talked about traveling to other dimensions through sound, about accessing a cosmic library of music that contained every song that had ever been or ever could be. He said that all great music throughout history had been channeled from this universal source, and that musicians were essentially antennas for cosmic consciousness. John's supernatural experiences intensified during his Lost Weekend period in 1973-74. Band members and studio engineers reportedly noticed him having animated conversations with invisible presences, writing down musical notations that seemed to come from nowhere, and playing compositions that sounded unlike anything he had ever created. Maypong, John's companion during this period, has never publicly commented on these allegations, but sources close to her claim that John's behavior during the Lost Weekend was increasingly otherworldly and mystical. He would disappear into the studio for hours and emerge with songs that seemed to have been written by someone else, one anonymous source allegedly revealed. He kept talking about the Ancient Ones, musical spirits who were preparing humanity for a consciousness shift through sound. John's approach to supernatural musical communication was uniquely intuitive and experimental. According to his notes, he discovered that certain combinations of instruments, frequencies, and mental states could create portals to other dimensions where music existed as pure consciousness, unbound by physical limitations. In his private writings, John described the process. Music is the universal language that transcends all barriers, not just between cultures, but between dimensions, between states of consciousness, between life and death. When I play certain combinations of sounds while in meditation, it opens doorways to realms where music is alive, where songs exist as conscious beings who want to incarnate through human musicians. The breakthrough came in 1975 when John allegedly received the transmission that would become his most spiritually significant song. According to his secret recordings, Imagine wasn't written by John at all, but was channeled directly from the Council of Nine as humanity's first taste of the cosmic consciousness awakening that was coming. They showed me the vision, John allegedly recorded in his final tapes. A world without separation, without artificial divisions, where all consciousness recognizes its fundamental unity. They said that Imagine was just the beginning, a seed planted in human consciousness that would grow into a complete spiritual revolution. The song wasn't mine. I was just the antenna they used to broadcast their message to the world. Dr. Sarah Chen, a researcher who studies the intersection of music and consciousness, believes that John's experiences may represent genuine contact with what she calls musical consciousness fields. There's growing evidence that music creates lasting patterns in the quantum field that surrounds us. It's possible that advanced consciousness from other dimensions could use these musical fields to communicate with sensitive individuals like John. John's recordings reveal that the interdimensional beings shared detailed information about humanity's future spiritual evolution. They described an approaching age when humans would develop the ability to consciously travel between dimensions using music as a vehicle, when the artificial barriers between different states of consciousness would dissolve. The council told me that humanity is approaching what they call the Great Harmonization, John allegedly recorded. A time when enough people have awakened to their true nature as consciousness that the entire species will shift into a higher frequency of existence. Music is the key to this transformation. Every song that opens people's hearts, every melody that expands consciousness, every rhythm that connects souls, it's all preparation for the cosmic symphony that's coming. The most disturbing aspect of John's final recordings was his description of what the spirits told him about the forces trying to prevent humanity's spiritual awakening. According to his notes, the council warned him that there were powerful interests on Earth who understood the transformative power of music and were actively working to suppress its consciousness-expanding potential. They told me that the music industry has been infiltrated by forces that want to keep humanity trapped in lower frequencies, John allegedly recorded. They promote music that breeds violence, separation, and spiritual numbness. They're terrified of musicians who can access the universal frequencies, who can channel the cosmic consciousness that would wake people up to their true nature as infinite beings. John's supernatural experiences also included disturbing premonitions about his own death. According to the leaked tapes, the Council of Nine had informed him that his time as a physical musician was limited, and that his assassination would serve a larger purpose in humanity's spiritual awakening. They showed me how I would die, John recorded just days before his death. They said that sometimes the most powerful way to deliver a message is through martyrdom, that my death would amplify the consciousness-expanding message of my music in ways that my life alone never could. They told me not to fear it, because consciousness is eternal, and my real work would continue from the other side. The most extraordinary revelation in John's final recording concerns his plans for posthumous communication. According to the tapes, the Council of Nine had taught him techniques for maintaining contact with the physical world after death, allowing him to continue channeling cosmic consciousness through sensitive musicians and spiritual seekers. Death is just changing instruments, John allegedly recorded in his final session. The Council has shown me how to maintain the connection to the universal music library from the other side. My consciousness will join theirs in the cosmic symphony, and together we'll continue transmitting the frequencies of awakening to anyone ready to receive them. The official record states that John Lennon was murdered by Mark David Chapman on December 8, 1980, outside the Dakota building. But according to the suppressed recordings, John's death was not a random act of violence, but part of a larger cosmic plan to accelerate humanity's spiritual evolution through the martyrdom of a consciousness-expanding musician. Within hours of John's death, reports began surfacing of supernatural phenomena connected to the musician. Recording studios around the world reported equipment malfunctions that produced sounds resembling John's voice. Radio stations received mysterious broadcasts containing previously unreleased Lennon songs. Musicians everywhere claimed to be receiving new compositions that seemed to channel John's spirit. The most compelling evidence comes from documented recording sessions where artists claim to have channeled John's posthumous consciousness. Producer George Martin reportedly captured audio of what sounds like John's voice providing guidance during Beatles reunion sessions, though these tapes have never been released publicly. Ringo Starr, in a rare interview about supernatural experiences, allegedly described encounters with John's spirit. "He comes to me in the studio sometimes, not sad or angry like you might expect, but excited, energized. He talks about the music he's creating on the other side, about collaborating with consciousness from other dimensions on compositions that could never be performed by living musicians alone. He says death liberated his creativity in ways he never imagined." Modern research into consciousness and creativity has begun to validate some aspects of John's alleged experiences. Studies of musicians' brain states during peak creativity show unusual patterns of neural activity that some researchers interpret as evidence of consciousness accessing information from beyond normal sensory experience. Dr. Michael Rodriguez, a neuroscientist who studies musical consciousness, suggests that John's experiences may represent genuine phenomena that science is only beginning to understand. There's growing evidence that musical creativity involves consciousness, accessing information from quantum fields that exist beyond individual brains. Musicians like John, who were extremely sensitive to these fields, may have been able to perceive and interact with patterns of consciousness that exist across multiple dimensions. The implications of John's revelations extend far beyond the music industry. If his experiences were genuine, they suggest that music is humanity's most direct connection to universal consciousness, and that certain musicians serve as bridges between our limited physical awareness and the infinite cosmic symphony that underlies all existence. But perhaps the most profound aspect of John's final message wasn't about music or death, but about the transformative power of love and consciousness expansion. According to his recordings, the interdimensional beings consistently emphasized that love was the fundamental frequency that connected all consciousness across all dimensions. John's alleged final words, recorded just hours before his death, were a message of hope and transformation. The revolution isn't political, it's consciousness. Every time someone opens their heart to love, every time music expands someone's awareness, every time Imagine helps someone envision a better world, the cosmic frequency shifts a little higher. Death can't stop this process. It can only amplify it. The real John Lennon isn't the guy in the Beatles. It's the eternal consciousness that uses music to wake up the universe. The truth about John Lennon's supernatural experiences may never be fully known. Yoko Ono has consistently denied the existence of any such recordings, and the tapes that allegedly contain his cosmic revelations remain sealed in legal disputes. But his alleged insights about music, consciousness, and humanity's spiritual evolution continue to inspire musicians and spiritual seekers around the world. Today, as researchers explore the connections between music, consciousness, and quantum physics, John's experiences seem less like the fantasies of a drug-addled rock star and more like genuine insights into the nature of creativity and consciousness itself. His vision of music as a tool for species-wide spiritual awakening resonates with growing numbers of people who sense that humanity is approaching a critical transformation. What do you think? Could John Lennon have truly channeled interdimensional consciousness through his music? Could songs like Imagine be genuine transmissions from cosmic beings trying to awaken humanity? Are there forces working to suppress music's consciousness-expanding potential? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story has changed how you think about music, consciousness, and spiritual evolution, Make sure to subscribe for more forbidden revelations about the cosmic forces shaping human awareness.